What's good, Guardians? Today we're going to take a look at a hunter build that's going to give us one job: do massive damage with a hand cannon. And the hand cannon we're talking about today is going to be Warden's Law. I'm going to break down everything in this subclass, from the mods, weapons, gear, and of course the dim and MOBALYTICS link will be down in the description below if you want to go ahead and save it to your own Guardian. That being said, let's jump right into it. For the subclass selection here, I chose to use Prismatic. Honestly, you can kind of really run whatever you like, but I'm going to go down with Prismatic just so we can get a bunch of different elements in here. Of course, starting off with the super, we got to run Golden Gun here. Golden Gun is super fast to use and it does massive damage, so why wouldn't we want to use it? Next up here for the class ability, I chose to use Marksman Dodge because the hand cannon reload is a little slow for me, so it's nice to dodge and automatically reload whenever you like. For the movement ability here, you can choose whatever you like. I like to use triple jump. And then next we got the melee here. Withering Blade is the one I chose to use because you get 2 shurikens that can freeze and slow enemies, which makes ad clearing a little bit easier. And then lastly here we have the Swarm Grenade, which can scorch enemies, which is very nice as well. Pairing the melee and the grenade together, you can get your Transcendence back even faster too. For the aspects here, the first one I have is going to be Winter Shroud. Dodging slows nearby enemies, and slowing targets briefly increases your class ability energy. This is going to work off of the melee too, so we're going to be able to get our reload dodge back even faster. And for the second aspect here, we have Gunpowder Gamble. Whenever you defeat targets with abilities, elemental debuff damage, or solar weapons, you charge up a solar explosive. Whenever you throw that explosive dynamite stick, you can shoot it in midair and it causes an ignition. It's just really powerful, really fun to use, so why not throw it on this build? On to the fragments here. Today we got 6 of them. First one's going to be Facet of Hope. While you have an elemental buff, your class ability regenerates more quickly. Then we have Facet of Awakening. Rapidly defeating targets with light or darkness damage or super final blows generates a elemental pickup of the matching damage type. For us, it's going to be Fire Sprites, and that's going to be able to get us our grenade back even faster. And then third, we have Facet of Purpose. Picking up an Orb of Power is going to give us Restoration, which is going to be nice for trying to heal ourselves. Then we got Facet of Solitude. Landing rapid precision hits admits Severing Blast from a target, while Transcendent Severing Blasts are bigger. This is going to be really nice because we're going to be using pretty much the hand cannon 99% of the time. So we're always going to aim for the head, especially on bigger targets. So this is going to make us do even more damage on top of that. Number 5 here, we got Facet of Protection. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage, and then while Transcendent, the effect increased. Just another way to kind of stay alive when we're doing a little bit end game content here. And then lastly, we got Facet of Blessing. Melee final blows start health regen, while Transcendent, melee final blows start health regen for you and nearby allies. So this is going to help us work off our shurikens. Since they're all going to be using slow and freeze, we're going to actually be able to use these pretty easily here and get kills almost every single time. Next up, let's take a look at the seasonal artifact and the mods that we can use to make this build even better. I'm just going to name off just a couple here. First one's actually going to be Press the Advantage. Breaking Combatant's Shield grants increased weapon stability, handling, and reload speed. This is going to be nice for whenever we break a shield. Basically, it's just going to help our buff our hand cannon even more. This is going to be nice for whenever we break a shield. We're just going to be able to buff our hand cannon even more here. And then after that, we have Radiant Orbs. While you have a Solar or Prismatic subclass equipped, picking up an Orb of Power makes you Radiant. Radiant's going to give us the ability to do more damage and even stun champions. After that, we can take a look at Solar Fulmination, which increases our ignition damage and radius. That's going to be helpful for whenever we use Gunpowder Gamble. We can go ahead and toss the dynamite sticks, shoot it, and the ignition is going to do even more damage, which to me just sounds like a no-brainer. And then lastly here, we can run Shield Crush. While you have Woven Mail, Frost Armor, or Avoid Overshield, your melee recharges faster and deals increased damage. And then while you're Amplified or Radiant, your grenade recharges faster and deals increased damage. So basically, since we're going to be Radiant a lot, getting our grenade back even faster, it's just going to be a nice way that we can throw it as much as possible. Next up, quickly, we're going to go over the stats and then the armor mods here to see what we can do with this build to make it really the best here. Stats, quickly, I'll go over it. First up here, we're actually going to go for mobility. Of course, whenever you have mobility as a hunter, it reduces the cooldown of your class ability, which is going to be our dodge for reloading our gun. Second, we want resilience. Try to get it up as much as possible here. We're trying to get that 30% damage reduction. That way we can take as much damage as needed. And then lastly here, I have discipline on because I want to try to throw my grenades as much as possible. It's not really necessary for the build, but it's nice to do. But now let's jump right into the armor and the mods we have for this. Of course, we're going to start with a helmet, and the first couple mods we have are going to be 2 kinetic siphon mods, which rapid kinetic weapon final blows create an orb of power. And then lastly, we do have a heavy ammo finder mod. You can go ahead and swap this out with maybe another kinetic siphon mod if you want orbs even more, but you really don't need as much as you think you need, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. Now, one of the gauntlets here, we have Momentum Transfer, which causing damage with a grenade reduces your melee cooldown, and then Impact Induction, which causing damage with your powered melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. So these kind of just go hand in hand and they work off of each other, which is nice. And then after that, we do have a kinetic loader mod to increase the reload speeds of kinetic weapons. Again, Warden's Law is a little slower, so we want to try to be able to reload it as fast as possible if we don't have our dodge available. Up next with the chest piece armor here, all I have running on here is actually just going to be 2 charged up mods, which increases the maximum number of stacks of armor charge you can carry by 1. So since I have 2, we're going to get 2 extra stacks of armor charge. If you have the extra room to go ahead and put another one in there or put a resist mod in there, definitely go ahead and do that. I couldn't do that because I had to run a resilience mod. Next up here onto the leg, and this is actually where our exotic lies, which goes perfectly with Warden's Law. The exotic we're choosing today is going to be Lucky Pants. The armor perk here is going to be a legally modded holster. When you ready a fully loaded hand cannon that deals kinetic damage or a damage that matches your equipped super, each hit from that hand cannon increases the damage of the next shot for a short time against a target. Hand cannons ready faster and are more accurate immediately after swapping to them, and it provides a small benefit of airborne effectiveness stat of hand cannons while the buff is active. So the way this works is if you're on your heavy weapon or your secondary weapon and you switch to your hand cannon and it's fully loaded here, you're going to be able to do increased damage with every single shot you take. And the Warden's Law has 2 special perks on it that's going to make this even better for champions or yellow bars or bosses. So this really is a match made in heaven, and the damage does stack pretty high. And a way to get even more damage on this kinetic weapon, we are running 3 kinetic weapon surge mods here. Your kinetic weapons gain a small bonus damage while you have armor charge. And since we're going to get a lot of orbs from this build, we're going to be getting this bonus damage pretty much 24/7. So the amount of damage we're going to do with this hand cannon is actually pretty nuts. Lastly, here we got the Hunter Cloak here, and the mods I chose to use for this one. We got time dilation, so that way our decaying armor charge has a longer duration. This is going to add plus 5 seconds to every single charge we got. Since we're using this one mod, we're getting plus 25 seconds if we're fully loaded here. And then we have Powerful Attraction, which automatically collects nearby orbs of power when you activate your class ability. So anytime you activate that dodge to reload your gun, you're going to be able to collect any orbs near you, which is going to help our armor charge stack. And then lastly, the Reaper mod, which shortly using your class ability, your next weapon Final Blow spawns an orb of power. Again, just another way to get another orb, to get more armor charge, to get bonus damage even longer. This goes pretty perfect with your build because you're going to be dodging a lot and you're trying to get a lot of orbs of power, so it just works perfect. Now I'm going to go ahead and talk weapons here. First weapon I'm going to go ahead and talk about is actually going to be our main one we're going to be using most of the time here. It's going to be Warden's Law. I do have an adept version. If you don't have an adept version, that's definitely okay. You can get it from the Nightfalls and the adept version from the Grandmaster Nightfalls. But the 2 perks you're really wanting to get a combo here with is going to be 4th Time the Charm, which is rapidly landing precision hits will return 2 rounds to the magazine. And then after that, you have Vorpal Weapon, which increases damage against bosses, vehicles, and guardians with their super active. So this is going to be very helpful for this build. This is really where Lucky Pants shines because not only are you going to be able to get bonus damage on every hit, if 4th Time the Charm procs, you're going to be able to get it for even longer. And then not only that, you're also going to be able to get the Vorpal Weapon bonus damage on top of that. And of course, that's going to stack with our Weapon Surge Kinetic mod that we got going on too. So this one gun with these perks active, with these pants, literally can just stack bonus damage, bonus damage, bonus damage. So this is something really fun to try, and it's actually really good. For the secondary here, you can choose whatever you like. I like to use something that I can kind of do a quick ad clear on. That was the only thing that I noticed I was having trouble with this build was if I got overran, like sometimes the hand cannon isn't really quick enough. So all I'm using here is just Forbearance. I'm using it with Ambitious Assassin and Chain Reaction, so that way I can get as much damage as possible out and clear kind of a room of ads if I need to. I'm sure there's other options out there as well, but I just like the Forbearance. And then lastly, we have Anarchy. Anarchy for your heavy slot is going to be a little weird, and the reason I'll explain it to you is because if you're going to go do boss damage or champion damage, what you want to do is you want to fire 2 Anarchy shots so you can do damage over time, and then switch to your fully loaded Warden's Law, and then you'll be able to do that ticking damage higher and higher and higher, which is going to be an easy way to kill champs or at least do massive boss damage for the time being. And that's pretty much the gameplay loop as well. So whenever you're off of your hand cannon and you switch to it and it's fully reloaded, then you're going to be able to do massive damage, or the damage numbers are going to be able to keep climbing. Hand cannon is going to be the primary weapon you're going to be using. Forbearance or whatever you have is going to be basically for ad clear. You're going to make it a little bit easier to kill any enemies that are overwhelming you. And then of course you got Anarchy to do background damage while you're doing damage with the Warden's Law. That's pretty much it for this build. Very simple build, very fun to use. There's a lot of elements that you can kind of swap up by yourself, especially using the subclass, but this is what I chose to use to make this the most fun for me. But I do appreciate you guys tuning in and watching. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, comment down below what you want to see next, and until next time, stay safe, Guardians.